Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the Worry-Free Retirement with best-selling author and fiduciary Tony Walker.
If you got it, you don't need it. If you need it, you don't got it. You don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do. Them that have it, get more of it. The less they need it, the more they love it. And it sticks to them like glue. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.
The date, March 16th, 2020. My staff and I were all excited about an upcoming financial workshop we were hosting that evening in Louisville, Kentucky, and another workshop scheduled for the very next evening in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. With over 65 people registered for each workshop, we were confident that our latest message on how to safeguard more of that 401k plan was going to be a game changer. That is, until about 5 p.m. the evening of the 16th, just 1 hour before the start of our workshop, when it was announced on TV and radio that as a result of an unknown flu virus at the time, that the government had decided to limit any and all group settings to no more than 10 people. Hope y'all remember that night. Anyway, not knowing what to think about such an extreme governmental declaration, and with no time to contact the attendees planning to attend our event, we headed over to the venue to see if anyone would be there. Well, believe it or not, a total of 5 people did show up, 6 if you count the one fellow that brought his dog along with him. And for the next 60 minutes, I did my best to enthusiastically present my thoughts on how to use and enjoy your 401k plan, all the while wondering if we were approaching the end times. Really a surreal 60 minutes indeed. But it got worse. After packing up and heading home, the radio blares out on my car radio that now our government officials declare that effective immediately, they're shutting down businesses and our very way of life. Now, to be fair to those in power who didn't understand the rippling effect of such an extreme decision, I must admit that while I don't know a lot about viruses, I do know a thing or two about people, money, and what happens when you shut down an economy. It's called the rippling effect. And while we don't want to talk about the rippling effect anymore about the shutdown of the economy, we are going to talk about the rippling effect of your 401k plan and what's in store for you when you go to take money out of it. I am that little man in the sweater vest, rippling effect specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And with us in the studio, as always, is America's favorite financial sidekick, right here in our Louisville studios, Mr. Aaron Orander. Good morning, Aaron.
Hey, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. I don't think I told you I was going to broach this subject of that evening. You got to remember that well, because you were heading over there. What do you remember about that evening, Aaron?
I just remember standing in the back of a room with 70 plus chairs set up and 5 of them were filled. And the dog was filming. We just kept on plugging away just like it was a regular workshop, but it was like that was just the start of the snowball. I'll just say that. You know, the snowball that rolls down the hill and it just gets bigger and bigger in the cartoons. That was just the start of it, because it just seemed in the coming months it was just one thing after another. Do you remember last summer they were talking about the murder hornets?
Oh my
gosh. Do you remember that?
And now I do.
Folks, we've now got murder hornets coming across the ocean. I didn't even picture murder hornets like flying over the ocean. I pictured them like with cigars in their mouths and like coming over on like the USS Alabama or something. Like that's what I pictured, and it was like, what is going on?
Speaking of rippling effect, and that's the whole point of today's show, folks. It does seem like it's kind of like throwing a big old rock in the water and it makes a splash, but these ripples do have an effect, and they don't stop until they hit the shoreline. So money is really the same way. And what we're talking about today is your 401k plan. Now you might say, well, Tony, I don't have a 401k plan. I got what's called a 403b plan. Well, let's make something clear here. Whether you have a 401k plan, it could be a 403b plan, it could be a thrift savings plan, it could be an IRA, or it could be a lump sum pension. Those are all what we call qualified accounts. And assuming you're putting that money in, listen closely, pre-tax, that means that you have not paid taxes on this money. Listen closely, folks. This is a huge deal. So this savings plan known as the 401k, which was created in 1978, which on the surface, don't get me wrong, is an excellent way for people to save money. Maybe if you get an employer match, you got that going for you. It is a very, very good savings tool. What they didn't tell you back in 1978 when they created this monster was that when you go to take the money out, the rippling effect, the negative effects this 401k is going to have on your taxes, the negative effect it's going to have on sleepless nights if you leave it in the stock market and the stock market crashes, as we'll find out today, the negative effect even on your Social Security, your Medicare premiums. Folks, the rippling effect, as Aaron says, you think a bunch of mad hornets coming over is bad. You just wait till everybody gets their hands on your 401k plan. But never fear, at Tony Walker Financial, we do have answers on how to deal with these ripples. So stay tuned. If you're one of those folks out there who's retiring soon, and you really do feel like you don't have a clue as to how to keep more of this money in your pocket, stay tuned. I'll show you how to do just that. Welcome to our Employee Spotlight, and today's feature will be Miss Heather Hughes, our fiduciary in the Bowling Green office. First of all, Heather, thank you for making the drive with JJ up to our Louisville studios today from Bowling Green.
Glad to do it today.
So briefly, tell the audience a little bit about how you got started at Tony Walker Financial, how long you've been with us, and your role there from doing an income planning specialist role all the way down to the fiduciary.
Oh, sure. Well, joined the firm back in 2006. Hard to believe it's been that long. Started off just helping you kind of develop game plans on the earliest levels. Since then, we went from Excel spreadsheets and building out our own
big
proprietary
accordion. Remember the big accordion spreadsheets?
Yeah. Long sheets of paper. Then developing that proprietary software that we've come to love so much, and it's so helpful for clients. Since then, you know, as I learned the business, it really became a passion of mine, and ended up becoming a fiduciary just like you.
And you're that person at the office that's there full time, which is so helpful to us, because many times I'm with clients quite a bit. But tell people the, I guess, surprise they have when we respond so quickly to their questions and the ability to call up the game plan and react to their needs as they change in retirement.
Sure, that's one of the benefits, I think, of having me in the office full time. I know you're meeting with a lot of clients up here in Louisville. When you're in a meeting, you're of course not readily available. They can usually reach me with just a quick phone call. So if they have any questions, especially existing clients, I'm happy to answer those for them, pull up their game plan. If there are any changes we need to make, we're happy to do that. Or if they're even needing to make some decisions, I can help with that.
Well, Heather, obviously I appreciate your work so much at Tony Walker Financial. You've been a great asset, and we look forward to helping many more savers. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Tony.
Wondering how much money you'll need to retire? Probably a lot less than you think. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and for the past 36 years, I've helped thousands of savers determine when to retire and how much money they'll need in retirement, and I can help you too. So if you're retired or thinking of retiring soon, maybe you know of somebody who doesn't know if they can retire, let me invite you to log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. We look forward to talking with you soon. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. We're talking about the rippling effect of your money, particularly your 401k plan, and all the costs, all the headwinds that are against your 401k, and the splash that it made when it was introduced, but the rippling effects that are going to potentially swamp a lot of the money that you were hoping to keep in your pocket. So how do we deal with these rippling effects? Well, first of all, I think we have to deal with some facts about what's going on in this country. And Aaron, I'm going to set the stage. This is going to sound really oddball. I'm going to ask you a question. And I want you to tell me if you can make a comparison, something similar that's going on right now in our country, the US of A, with that of Japan.
Something that's going on with the USA that's also going on with Japan. Ooh. Well, let's see. Well, I know last year both of our automobile industries took a big dive. Both of them shut down factories and everything else. Not sure where you're going with this, Tony.
So yeah, that's a good point, though. A lot of similarities with cars and tied together there. But where we're really connected and where we can really learn from Japan is that they're ahead of us a little bit here, and it's interesting to watch what's going on over there. They have an increasingly, and I mean hugely, increasingly aging population.
An aging population. Now, what do you mean by that?
Well, let's see. Derek ran off an article. I know. This is something he handed off to me. I asked if he could find something. Okay, so this is dealing with long-term care insurance, and we're going to be talking to Trey Jurgens in just a second about this. One of the things, Aaron, as people are getting older and older, they're worried about living longer is healthcare costs. Right? We're back to costs, the rippling effect. Okay. Currently, this particular article. Let's see where Derek got this for me. I'm sorry, I don't even think I have the title of that. That's okay. Folks, you can Google this stuff. I mean, it's factual. But currently, about 25%, listen to this, Aaron, of Japan's population is above 65.
25%?
25%. Now, here's what they're anticipating. By the year 2060, folks, now imagine, folks, picture yourself aging. Picture a country, an economy, trying to support the healthcare cost of an aging population. See where we're going with this? Okay. By 2060, they're estimating that 40% of the entire population will be over the age of 65.
Wow.
So what it says is such a demographic shift would severely strain, listen folks, because this is where the U.S. is going to. We're a little behind them here on the numbers, but we're getting there. Such a demographic shift would severely strain Japan's established pension system. Remember, pensions, they're nothing more than annuities. Those are those guaranteed payments. See, here's what they're worried about. They got to make all these guaranteed payments to people. People are living longer. Where's the money going to come from? And now you got healthcare issues and costs on top of that. And then you got the workforce. That's another thing. So think about this. If 60% of the people one day are retired, that means, excluding children, you only have 40% of the people working. Wow. Oh, yeah. I know. It says, sorry to mess up your day, folks, because here we go with the U.S. Let's talk about the U.S. The number of Americans age 65, let's see if I can figure this out. Well, in the U.S., I don't think I have the statistics on this percentages, but it's still the same factor. Age 65 and older will more than double over the next 40 years. We will have approximately 80 million people in the year 2040 that will be over the age of 65. That is a lot of people. Not probably quite the percentage of Japan, but that's way up there. What do we have, 320 million or something? I mean, even if it's 25 to 30%, do you understand where we're going with this?
It's a lot.
It's a lot. So as more and more people get into retirement, folks, 10,000 people in this country are turning 65 every day. The question is, how in the world are we going to pay for this? Well, a lot of people say, well, that's no big deal, Tony, because I've got this 401k plan. I'll just use that. Well, let's talk about that for a minute. So let's imagine you've done a good job of saving, and congratulations, seriously. Some of the people, Aaron, that come in here, I had about 15 appointments yesterday in the Louisville office, and I say this with all sincerity. I always kid around and call them the Joe Lunchboxes of the world. These are just hardworking people. They go to work every day. They work hard. Many of our clients have very strenuous jobs. And they get to a point in life and they come into me. Now, again, in Kentucky, if you're driving down the road listening to this and you're from Manhattan, New York, you're not going to be impressed. But in Kentucky, especially if you live a pretty low-key lifestyle, if you walk in this office and you have $500,000 or $600,000 in a 401k, assuming, again, you don't have a lot of debt, assuming you've got just a little bit in savings, assuming you kind of have a low-key lifestyle, not a bunch of really expensive hobbies and traveling all over the world, if you got $500,000 in a 401k plan, Aaron, I can almost guarantee you I can show you how you'll be fine financially. Now, in comes this question, though. But Tony, and it always comes up, what if I live a long time and go in a nursing home? What if I have a major health issue? See, therein lies the problem. I don't have an answer for that because it takes, put it this way.
They just got to tell you when they're going to pass away.
There you go. They'll just tell me that.
Yeah. Just tell you that and make it a whole lot easier.
So in the last 2 weeks, I've had, 4 people come in that are adult children worried about their parents. I'll use one example. One of these kids, again, this is an adult child, worried about their parents. You want to take a guess right now? They've got their parents, it's their father is at home with them, okay? He has Alzheimer's. They don't want to put their father in a nursing home. They have 24-hour round-the-clock people staying there. You with me so far?
Okay.
They have to pay that out of pocket. Now, granted, they said they had a small long-term care policy that paid a couple $1,000 a month. Guess what they're having to pay out of pocket for this household to keep him home?
Ooh, a month?
Per month.
Per month.
Every month.
I will say, I'll say probably about $6,000.
That's a good guess. I'm surprised you guessed that high. Actually, 10.
$10,000?
$10,000. Round-the-clock help. So they asked me my thoughts, and I looked at their parents' finances, the father's finances, and I said, well, you know, depending on how long he lives, 3 or 4 years from now, there's no way. I mean, most people don't write checks every month in retirement for $10,000.
Right.
But that's what they're doing. So, folks, if you think the 401k is going to do that, if you're going to then pay a bunch of taxes on the 401k or you're going to keep it at risk, that's going to be a problem. So, healthcare, let's set that aside a minute. If you have, I'll just tell you this, and I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, this is just realism. If you're going to have a major catastrophic health problem, you probably don't have enough money to cover it. And maybe you need to get to an elder care attorney or do some of that planning. But let's get back to the realistic part. Let's say you don't have a healthcare issue. How are you going to plan with that 401k plan? How are you going to keep the taxes down? How are you going to not affect Social Security? How are you going to keep from drawing out too much money to affect your Medicare premiums? And maybe you're on the government exchange program. There's all these rippling effects that come up. So here's what we're going to do. When we come back, this is going to be a great segment. I've got 2 staff members from Tony Walker Financial. One of them is my favorite son-in-law and compliance officer here at Tony Walker Financial, Mr. Trey Juergens. He's going to talk, Aaron, about the rippling effects of taking money out of a 401k plan and what it might do to your Medicare premiums. And if you're on the government exchange right now, as many of you are who have retired early, what it could do to that. That's a biggie. Then, with our time remaining as well, we're going to talk to our own Leanne Tinsley. Leanne is certified in tax. She's full-time with us in our Bowling Green, Kentucky office. And Leanne's going to speak to the fact of somebody taking money out. And this comes up a lot, Aaron. We'll pose this question to Leanne. Somebody wants to take money out of their 401k and pay off their home. That comes up a lot. And I'm all for that. But you know what they don't think about? The rippling effect. So when we come back, we're going to talk to Trey and Leanne. Very educational stuff. So if you have a 401k, any other qualified plan, pension, 403b, and you really don't understand what happens when you yank money out of that thing, you will in just about 30 seconds. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. With the stock market at all-time highs and our nation's debt through the roof, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Now may be the best time to safeguard more of your 401k. Let's get started today by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. And in case you're just now joining us, I am Tony Walker with Aaron Orander in the studio and getting ready to talk with my favorite son-in-law, Trey Juergens, a fellow fiduciary. But again, if you're just now joining us, our theme is the rippling effect of your 401k plan. That huge bundle of money you've got sitting there that's tax infested, that could affect Medicare premiums, the exchange on your health insurance premiums. We're going to basically talk to Leanne Tinsley in a minute. And it goes on and on and on. So what you see is not always what you get. But with us in the studio, as promised, is my favorite son-in-law, Trey Juergens. And Trey, I know you helped write some of the script we were working on for this, so you know exactly what the topic is we're talking about. But I guess before we get into this, I don't think I've ever introduced you as the person behind the chat bot. So folks, yeah, if you have a minute, if you're in front of the computer, if you go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, it pops up automatically, doesn't it? The little bobblehead at the bottom.
If you hang around for a minute or so on the website, little chatbot bobblehead Tony will pop up and see if we can help you.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So Trey has agreed to kind of man that. So over the weekend, he'll keep an eye on the chat bot. And again, let's keep it real specific here. But one of the things I run into, and you're seeing more and more people, a lot of our saver clients, which we're all for it if we can help them, but they want to be out of debt. I mean, to be out of debt in retirement, have that house paid for is a good feeling. How much does that come up, Trey, as you're talking to people, this whole issue of can I pay off my house and what if I use my 401k, et cetera?
Yeah, well, for instance, this week we've had 3 people already. One was a chatbot, funny enough, ask about the impact, the rippling effect of paying off their house. They understand it's not as easy as just pulling money out of that 401k and slinging it over to the bank to pay off that mortgage. So what they don't know is all the ripple effects that can happen. Taxes, increasing their MAGI, their MAGI or MAGI, whatever they call it.
Magi, they've been through Jesus, I think, years
exactly.
ago. Go ahead, I didn't know about that
It's
one.
not that exciting. It's your modified adjusted gross income. So
Okay.
if that goes up, you're in for a ripple effect.
So let's kind of use I guess a real life example because this comes up a lot. And again, folks, this is a show geared towards savers. So some of you out there who are investors and speculators and hear us talking about this probably thinking, well, man, I can get, my mortgage is 2.5%. Why would I pay that off when I can toss it over here in one of those growth mutual funds the financial entertainer is always talking about? We're not talking about that. This show is called the Worry-Free Retirement because a lot of our clients don't like the obligations and that continual debt that they have to service. So forget interest rates. We feel psychologically a lot of our clients enjoy having that house paid off in retirement, and our job is to help them do it efficiently. So let's lay out a scenario, Trey. And again, don't get into the taxes too much because I've got Leanne coming on here shortly. So, all right, here's the situation. We've got a husband, let's say, is 65. He's retired. His wife is 62. She is retired. He's on a Medicare supplement, but she was not eligible for anything under his plan, so she's under the exchange, let's say. Is that a fair enough? Okay, so he's on a Medicare supplement, eligible for Medicare. She's on under the government exchange for health insurance. All's well in Mudville. They don't, between their Social Security and their taxable income, they make around $60,000. About half of that is Social Security. But they have about $150,000 debt on their home. That's their only debt, and they want to get that puppy paid off. And they have roughly $400,000 in their 401k. So I'll take the first step of that if that's okay. So they want to pay off their home. So you know the answer to this. Let's test Aaron on this. So Aaron, if I want to pay off my home of $150,000 and I've got $400,000 in my 401k plan, what's the problem with yanking out $150,000? Is it all free and clear, or am I going to have to pay some taxes on it?
Well, you got to pay taxes on that. It's not all yours.
Very good. So then we have to calculate the taxes needed. So I didn't get this calculation, but we're just ballparking this. So in that case, I may have to take out $200,000, let's say, Trey, to net $150,000. First ripple effect.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so, now they're kind of staggering in their chairs. We just give them the bad news. Well, it's okay, Tony. I still want to do it. Okay, so now we got to drop $200,000 on your tax return. So Trey, take it from there, specific to Medicare and the exchange. What could that do to those premiums?
Yeah, so the ripple effect there, the problem is, remember, the husband is 65. He's retiring, going on Medicare. That's fine. He's going to probably have a lower monthly premium than what he would have paid on the exchange. However, that old MAGI, whatever they call it, the modified adjusted gross income, because of that large distribution, throws $200,000 on top of their $60,000. So that's going to send a ripple effect across that, increasing his Medicare Part B premiums, likely from what the vast majority of our clients pay, which is about $148.50
Per month
for Medicare Part B premium, up to potentially $297 a month.
Wow,
And
that's a huge jump.
And that's going to happen as long as he doesn't go back and appeal that this was a year that is different from any other. So that's a huge ripple effect for him.
So, and let's stop there. You said, well, he could appeal it, and because that was a one-time event. But number one, yeah, he can appeal it. I'm sure they probably could win it, but you got the hassle of having to appeal with the government so you've just created not only a ripple effect, but a lot of hassle, right?
Yeah, they see you on your tax return as a high income earner. They don't care if it came from pulling a big distribution out of your 401k or making that money as a physician or lawyer or whatever it is. They see you as making $260,000 that year, so your Medicare Part B premiums are going to hike.
Okay, now go to his wife who's 62 and she's on the exchange, and let's say, what would she probably be paying based on that income ballpark?
Let's say $400 or $500. Again, these are all ballpark, a lot of moving parts here. But if she's on the exchange, healthcare exchange, they were typically making $50,000, $60,000. She's going to be due for some tax credits, some subsidies to help lower her monthly premium. So with that, if all of a sudden they're making $260,000 that year, she's going to lose those tax credits. And whether they let the government know, they go back into healthcare.gov, or they try to figure out how to reapply for the healthcare exchange, she's going to be losing those credits. So they either pay back $1,500 or so, or it's all going to be variable.
Wow. So, folks, there you have it. Thanks, Trey, for that. Okay, we don't want to mess up your day too bad, but we got more ripples to explain. So right now, what we're going to do, we're going via Zoom to our Bowling Green office to our tax-certified specialist, Leanne Tinsley. And Leanne, let's talk now about what's going on with taxes on this same example. In fact, I'm going to read you a TNT. Leanne, here it goes. Here's the situation. We have a husband and wife. The husband is 65. She's 62. They have a $400,000 401k. They got debt of about $150,000 on their home, and they want to take money out of the 401k to pay off the home. What's the first issue on this deal?
Well, the first thing we're going to have to determine is how much they're going to have to take gross out of that 401k to be able to net that $150,000 that they need to pay off that home. So after you do those calculations, you're looking at about $212,000.
Ouch. So that's the first rippling effect. Not only do you got to take $150,000 out of your account, but you got to pay Uncle Sam over $60,000 that you'll never have to invest. Okay, so let's say you still follow through on this deal. What's the next rippling effect that we must consider?
Well, you have to understand that you're going from almost zero state tax issue into a substantial state tax issue, and your federal tax bracket has suddenly gone from 10% to 24%.
So now on that amount of money, you've got an extra 14% you got to hand over to the federal government, and possibly 4 to 5% for the state. This is not looking real good, is it?
It's not looking good.
And that's the second rippling effect. Sorry to tell you, folks, but now there's even a third rippling effect to this transaction. Leanne, share how that works in terms of the Social Security issues.
Well, in this example, we do have Social Security in play. So now we've gone from your Social Security being taxed at a very low rate to now suddenly 85% of your Social Security is now being taxed.
Yeah, that's wild. So, Leanne, I guess what would you say to people who are sitting there? And again, we encourage people to do these types of things and look at paying off their home and all that. But what, in summary, would you say to people who are thinking about taking out large sums of money of their 401k plans?
Well, I would encourage people to understand that it's not just an isolated decision. Every decision that you make does have a rippling effect. It's a real phenomenon, and you really need to look to professional advice to see how this is going to affect you across the board.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program, folks. Let me make an offer to you. If you're sitting there right now and you're one of those folks that had no idea of the rippling effect and the cost to your 401k and your retirement, let's talk. It's easy to do. All you got to do is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and click on that Let's Get Started button. Or if you like, just give us a call at 877-499-9255, 877-499-WALK. When you contact us, you'll be talking to me personally, either by phone or if it warrants in person at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. So do it now. Let's get together and see if we can help you put more money back in your pocket. Well, until next week, you make it a good one, but you remember, between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free.
If you got it, you don't need it. If you need it, you don't got it. You don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.